Hi everyone, my name is Masood Saeed and I'm a social science psychologist. In this video, I'll be discussing Muslim MP navigates UK law versus Islamic beliefs. Introduction: Analysis of the ethical implications of electing a Muslim to public office in the UK. The role of a UK Member of Parliament (MP) may involve certain responsibilities that could conflict with Islamic principles, particularly in areas where UK law and policies may require actions that are contrary to Islamic teachings. MPs may be required to support or implement laws that license and regulate the sale and distribution of alcohol as part of their legislative duties. This could include voting on or endorsing policies related to the alcohol industry, which is legal and regulated in the UK. Alcohol is explicitly prohibited in Islam. The Quran states, "O you who have believed, indeed, intoxicants, gambling, sacrificing on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows are but defilement from the work of Satan. So avoid it that you may be successful." Surah Al-Ma'idah 590, Sahih International Translation. Islamic scholars unanimously agree that involvement in the promotion, sale, or regulation of alcohol is haram, forbidden. For instance, Sheikh Ibn Baz, a prominent Saudi scholar, issued a fatwa stating that any form of participation in the alcohol industry is impermissible for Muslims. MPs may need to engage in the regulation or support of the gambling industry, which is legally permitted and regulated in the UK. This might involve voting on laws related to gambling establishments, online betting, and related services. Gambling is prohibited in Islam as it is considered a form of injustice and a means of causing harm to individuals and society. The Quran explicitly forbids gambling in the same verse that prohibits alcohol, Surah Al-Ma'idah 590. Islamic scholars have consistently maintained that any form of support or involvement in the gambling industry is impermissible for Muslims. Sheikh Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, in his fatwa, emphasized that Muslims should avoid any engagement with gambling activities. MPs may be involved in voting on or implementing laws related to the regulation of prostitution. While prostitution is legal in certain forms in the UK, its regulation and the associated legal framework are part of the legislative responsibilities of MPs. Islam strictly prohibits any form of sexual activity outside of marriage, and by extension, the practice or promotion of prostitution is considered a major sin. Islamic scholars view the involvement in legislation that regulates or indirectly supports prostitution as incompatible with Islamic ethics. Mufti Muhammad Taqi Usmani has issued a fatwa stating that any support for prostitution laws is against Islamic principles. MPs in the UK are required to support and uphold the secular legal framework of the country, which is based on principles that may differ from Islamic Sharia law. This could include endorsing laws that are in conflict with Islamic teachings on issues such as family law, inheritance, and criminal justice. While Muslims are encouraged to follow the laws of the land in which they reside, Islamic scholars have emphasized that this should not come at the expense of compromising fundamental Islamic principles. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, in his fatwa, advised Muslims to avoid actions that contradict Sharia, even in non-Muslim lands. For example, Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, in Fiqh of Muslim Minorities, suggests that Muslims living in non-Muslim lands should avoid direct involvement in actions that contradict Sharia. MPs may be expected to support or promote liberal social policies, such as those related to LGBTQ plus rights, gender equality, and reproductive rights. These policies may sometimes conflict with traditional Islamic teachings. Islamic scholars often highlight the, the importance of adhering to Islamic moral and ethical standards, which may not align with liberal social policies. Sheikh Ibn Baz, in his fatwa, stressed that Muslims should not endorse policies that contradict Islamic values. Scholars like Mufti Muhammad Taqi Usmani in Islam and Modernism stress that Muslims should avoid endorsing policies that contradict Islamic values, even if they are part of the legal framework in a non Muslim country. While the role of a UK MP involves many responsibilities that can be compatible with Islamic values, certain aspects of the job may require actions that conflict with Islamic teachings. These include licensing and regulating alcohol, supporting the gambling industry, legislating on prostitution, upholding secular laws over Sharia, and promoting liberal social policies. Islamic scholars generally advise that Muslims should avoid direct involvement in actions that are explicitly haram, even if these are part of their civic duties in a non-Muslim country. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, in his fatwa, reiterated the importance of avoiding haram actions in any context. In conclusion, the balance between fulfilling civic responsibilities and maintaining Islamic principles is complex and requires careful consideration and guidance from knowledgeable scholars. Certain aspects of UK law directly intersect with Islamic principles, creating potential conflicts for Muslim MPs. Alcohol legislation, for example, permits the sale and consumption of alcohol, a practice strictly forbidden in Islam. Similarly, gambling, while legal and regulated in the UK, is considered haram according to Islamic teachings. These points of contention raise complex questions for Muslim MPs. How do they approach legislation that contradicts their religious beliefs? Do they abstain from voting on such matters, or do they engage in the process, seeking to represent the diverse views of their constituents? The answers are rarely straightforward and require careful consideration of both Islamic principles and the principles of democratic representation.
To understand the Islamic perspective on alcohol and gambling, we turn to the Quran, the Hadith, and the interpretations offered by Islamic scholars. The Quran explicitly prohibits alcohol and gambling, categorizing them as abominations and satanic works. The Hadith further emphasizes this prohibition, highlighting the social and spiritual harms associated with these activities. Islamic scholars, throughout history, have consistently condemned alcohol and gambling, emphasizing the importance of avoiding these activities. Their interpretations provide guidance for Muslims navigating the complexities of modern life, offering frameworks for understanding and applying Islamic principles in various contexts.
Section 4 UK Law and the Muslim MP. As elected representatives in the UK, Muslim MPs are bound by the laws of the land. They swear an oath to uphold the Constitution and represent the interests of all their constituents, regardless of faith or background. This duty requires them to engage with legislation, even on matters that may conflict with their personal beliefs. The UK's legal system operates on the principle of secularism, meaning there is a separation between religion and state. While MPs are free to hold personal religious beliefs, they are expected to carry out their duties within the framework of UK law. This can create a delicate balancing act for Muslim MPs, requiring them to reconcile their faith-based convictions with their legal and political obligations.
Balancing personal faith and public duty is a challenge that has historical roots. Throughout history, individuals have often had to navigate the complexities of their personal beliefs while fulfilling public responsibilities.
As a member of the Muslim community, I see the struggles our MPs face. It's not easy to balance religious convictions with the demands of their roles, but they do it with grace and dedication. They serve as an inspiration to many of us.
It's important for all of us to understand the commitment that Muslim MPs have to both their faith and their constituents. They work tirelessly to ensure that they represent everyone fairly and justly. Their efforts help bridge gaps and promote understanding in our diverse society. Do not forget to tap on the like, subscribe and share buttons. Also leave a comment.